Hello there, and welcome to Neem Capsule Podcast, the podcast where we dive into important topics that affect all of us. I'm your host, Adedoyin Betiku, Senior Communications Officer here at Neem Foundation, and this month we are dedicating our episode to men's mental health. Today, I have three incredible guests who will be joining me. And I'll just ask that they introduce themselves, starting from my right.
Okay, thank you. My name is Tengodo Cho. I work as a lead psychologist at Neem Foundation.
You're welcome, Tengod.
Hi everyone, Benga Ogundari here. I work as the communications officer here at Neem Foundation.
Welcome, Benga.
My name is Martin Zadebayo. I'm the manager at Pama Consult, project management company.
You're welcome, everyone. They are experts in their respective fields and have made significant contributions to raising awareness and supporting men's mental health. In this episode, we would explore various aspects of men's mental health and tackle some common challenges and discuss, strategies for promoting emotional well-being in men. So, let's get started. I think to set the tone, I don't know if Mr. Bayo properly introduced himself, but I've had a really long term. I've known Mr. Bayo for a very, very long time, all the way back to uni. He's what I think the new generation will call school father. And if you know the role of a school father, there is to both nurture, guide, and ensure that their school son is doing really well, both academically and emotionally, going through as at that time the best school in Nigeria, OAU, Obafemi Awolowo University. Benga, why are you laughing? Please, we want to challenge you. Let's go to court. But even as back then, I would remember you'd always, even while you were going through the school yourself, you'd always be there to provide that kind of support, that kind of, keep your head down. Have you guys eaten? How are you doing? And all of that. I wonder, being in the position that I am in now and obviously taking care of other people, what made you actually choose to do that? Why is the question I'm asking? Because for some people, they'll say, I don't know you from anywhere. Why should I even care about you? Why was it important to you way back then, to ensure that younger guys who are going through it, who are going through the same situation or who are new into this environment or the space that we're in, are able to sort of learn from your mistakes or find better ways to go about and navigate school?
Well, it wasn't much of a decision, but opportunity. It was more of an opportunity because we were very busy.
Yes. Pursuing GP.
Yes. But you find yourself once in a while you come into contact with people who are probably around your siblings or around people that work with you, and you're encouraged to say one or two things to them. Things you'd wish you had told yourself, or you had someone to tell you when you're in that same position, because I could remember far back then, I think around 2015, 200 level, that was when I lost my dad, and it was a period that I wish I had someone to talk to me. Even it took, I think, almost 15 years later before I came to terms with it and was able to mourn. And that was when I met my wife. I guess probably that was when I married her, because she was probably the only person that was able to break through that by just conversation, friendly conversations. And I think it was about 3 or 1 month after meeting her, someone died close to where I was staying, and For some reason, the person was not connected to me. But because that door had been broken down, I just, inside my vehicle, doors locked, and I started weeping. I cried for close to 30 minutes. For no reason. Because I could not remember, I think, how I felt, or how I should have expressed myself, but didn't know how. There was no one to say, oh, it's okay to cry. There was no one to say, you know. And then being in that position, you know, you're able to look back and say, bro, that's not the end of life. You know, you can do this, you can do that. You know, mental health is mental.
Yeah.
You know, people don't see it, you can't touch it, but it has the capacity to chain people. A person can be in a space and still not be able to do anything because of a mental blockage. So yeah, that was one of the things that encouraged me to speak to people. Now I see people and I'll be like, bro, are you fine? And when I ask people, are you fine? Because I know the answer I would give. I ask them, I'm not asking, I'm saying, are you really fine? And when you tell someone, are you really fine? They take time to now think about it. Because a lot of people don't even know they're not fine.
Yeah.
Now take time to think about, am I fine? And then sometimes you guys just talk. Not like they need your help, not that you can actually even offer any help to them, but just talk. Just talk about it. And at the end of the conversation, you see a man who has been able to unburden, at least for a while. You know. Yeah, so yeah, that's basically
Wow, thank you so much. You know, I now value more your mentorship back then, you know, going through what you were going through and still finding the bandwidth to be able to accommodate me and all my youthful exuberance. I was sharing some things with the guys in the studio. I don't think I can share it online for my political career. So let's get into the discussion. Our topic today is Man Up. What does it really mean? TG, you are in-house psychologist. You are the Doctor Who for comic fans. You are Doctor Who. And I'm sure Mr. Bayo's experience on what he just shared now, I'm sure it's something that you come across daily or more frequently than normal, especially with men who find it really difficult to express themselves, maybe due to certain stereotypes or certain limitations that has been set, especially on African men, when they tell them to really man up. From your experience as a psychologist, what does the word man up really mean? Does it have any negative connotation? Because it's usually used to maybe tell guys to, guy, you be man, just forget that thing, man up. People mean it in a positive way, but could it have a negative implication?
Okay, thank you very much, Dedoyin. Well, like you mentioned earlier, the fact that when we use the word man up, quite a lot of people do, and they use it more like a positive way, just be strong. You don't need to show your emotion. You're a man, so you have to be strong. I think that's what people use it. And at times they do say that just to be able to console and encourage you. But the reality also is the fact that that particular statement in itself can stifle the real you. It can stifle your personality, because as a man, you have emotions. And one of the things about emotions is the fact that you should be able to express yourself when you are feeling certain way. You know, if you need to cry as a man, you are supposed to cry because you have tears in your eyes. If you need to express your emotion, you need to express it. So, but once you hear the statement man up, it means you should conceal your emotion. You are not supposed to express yourself for people to see, because we see that as weakness. You know, when you become vulnerable, we see it as weakness, but vulnerability is a strength in itself. You know, so it's something that a lot of people say ignorantly, but in reality it has affected a lot of men. And you see so many men, they have decided to man up And in the process, some of them have gone into depression, even some have committed suicide. Because you see, there's this popular saying that a river that does not flow stink. Your emotion is not meant to be bottled up. You are supposed to express yourself, not in a negative way, but just express your feelings, express your emotions, basically.
Absolutely. Benga, our research shows that men are twice more likely to commit suicide than women are, even though it's shown that, they tend to, actually with more inclusivity in the workspace, in the labor market, and so on and so forth, men and women are almost carrying, relatively similar job roles, right? But why is it that men, what are some of the misconceptions or some of the stigmas that surround men's mental health that you know that has contributed to this bottling up of emotion that TJ has talked about?
Well, I'll come from the perspective of a young professional who is also a man, right? I feel men are more likely to consider suicide as a way out because, like Fangod said, there's basically not much outlet. Men are not expected to express themselves, right? So that's why you have a man who is having the same role as a woman in the workplace, but the expectations are different, right? So from family, from the workplace, so it's expected, for instance, that I'm supposed to do heavy lifting, for instance. And then in the family, I'm expected to maybe pay bills, reach out to siblings and all of that. It may also be the same for women, but it may not be as much, right? And also there's the case of, as a man, some of the misconception is that when you speak out, you are weak, right? The misconceptions are, instead of you to have a conversation with the therapist, for instance, speak to God. I'm not saying speaking to God is bad, but it's like speaking to a therapist basically means you are mental in the Nigerian context, right? But I feel as a young person, as a young professional, as a man, I feel society puts so much pressure on you to outdo yourself. Society doesn't want to listen to you. And when you express yourself, society sees you as weak. And when you are seen as weak, society devours you. So it's like society has told us, for you to survive as a man, you must learn the art of silence. You must learn the art of bearing. You must learn the art of only speaking when it's necessary. I've had friends. In fact, I had a conversation with a friend recently, and he's a professional who's on the outside doing very well, but when we talk, he's talking about the pressures here, the pressures there. Sometimes it feels like just resigning and just going and stuff like that. Those are the kind of things we face as young men.
Absolutely. Research shows that 9 in 10 people who visit bars, pubs, joints during weekdays and even weekends are men. And of that 9 in 10 people, 5 out of 9 of them are married. Mr. Bayo, is it, as the married, we have 2 married men here, 2 single brethren. Is it that men just don't want to talk to their wives or their companion, or they feel like they know if you understand? Or because this same research that I'm reading shows that people who have had things bottled in and go to those pubs and share stuff with other men who are probably complete strangers just want someone to listen without being judged. Do you think that is a skill that everyone needs to learn? So not just, I won't say that women need to learn, but everyone needs to learn. And let me maybe to craft it better, can you shed some insights on some unique challenges that men face when it comes to speaking up or seeking help for their mental health?
Just like the 2 gentlemen have said before this, the expectation. It's difficult to ignore the expectation. It's almost like you were listening to a conversation I was having with my wife just 2 days ago. I was going to have a conversation. I've been having some trouble, trying to mentally map out some things. And I went to her, I was like, babe, I don't want you to give me advice. Just listen. I don't want an advice. Just listen to me. And she was like, okay, I understand. And I talked for like 30 minutes, and after talking, I was like, okay, I'm done. I said, don't give me advice. And she laughed. And she just raised one question, which I already know. I just needed to talk. I knew what to do, but I just needed to talk. We need to learn. I think it's a skill that should be part of the curriculum in schools. Learning to listen. Most marriages, most men don't go home because they're trying to avoid conversations with their wives. Most of the men in pubs, most of them, they are trying to avoid, because the conversations always head towards the expectations.
What is expected of the man?
Do you understand? And a man just wants to come home away from those expectations, not to them. So I think this might also unfairly place a burden on the women, because now they have to be the ones to bear the burden of the man coming home. And men have easily found a solution. Okay, since there's no going home, will not solve this. Let me just go to the pub. And the interesting things, you don't even need to know. A man can be at a pub for 10 years with 10 guys and not know their names.
Yes, chairman, boss, Odogu.
And they are so emotionally connected.
Yes.
But it still does not resolve the problems they have. Because the skill of listening is a skill. You can talk, but there's a way to listen in which, being a psychologist, I believe you'll be able to push in further into this part of it. Listening is a skill. You can use your listening skill to help direct a person's conversation.
Absolutely, I agree with you. TG, like Mr. Bayo rightly said, listening is a skill. But when men have been conformed to not expressing themselves for many years, my grandfather told my father to never show emotion. I remember my father telling me, never let them see you, never let them see you cry. Right? There's never cry in public. Let it be that no one ever sees you cry, And maybe that's how he has been taught. And which is why I'm really hopeful about this our generation, that we are talking about these things, and hopefully there's, more hope for the generations to come. TG, do you think because women, they tend to not have this problem, right? Because going back to this research, and I'm using research-based evidence to talk now, women actually don't have this problem. They have social constructs where they're able to freely express themselves, and for most of them, it's half solved when they express themselves, right? But for us, we've not been able to grow that skill to properly express ourselves in a way that a woman or our partners will be able to support us. And so we feel like maybe she's not listening, she's not hearing what I've said or unsaid, right? It's easier for a guy because even the things that I did not say, the guy is able to add 1 + 1 together. But that's the way we have been conditioned. Do you think it goes both ways, or it's just women that just don't understand how to listen to us?
I think, like you mentioned, listening is a skill. And it's not just the fact that women do not understand or do not want to listen, you understand, to the men. I think when it comes to listening, again, like you mentioned, because of certain expectation that the men have and what society, the pressure society has placed on them, most times they are they find it difficult to be able to listen. So they always come with that defensive approach, because one is either the ego is playing out, or two, there's so much pressure coming, so it becomes a trigger because of those pressure that have been placed on the man, or so it becomes a trigger that the person always posts that reactionary, come from that place of just reacting instead of carefully to listen to what the person has to say. And sometimes again, why it's very difficult for them to listen is the fact that most people just listen to reply, not to understand. You get, so once you come also with that particular mindset that you already know what the person wants to say, so for you to just reply the person, you get, it's also become difficult. So because you don't even understand what the person is talking about. Like he said, there are times, most time, the person that is sharing his or her pain with you doesn't even want you to make any statement. It doesn't want you to talk. It doesn't want you to advise or encourage the person. It just wants you to listen, because that in itself is therapeutic. You get, but sometimes again, our childhood upbringing can impact on us and our ability to be able to listen. I give you an example. So if you grew up in an environment like ours, where your words has no say in your family, or your voice has no say in your family, it's a system of command and control. Obey before complain. So whenever they say something to you, you don't give your opinion, you don't question. You understand? So you find it difficult to be able to grow up and develop that listening ears for other people. It's just for you to say, oh, this person is misbehaving. You just talk to the person. You don't even want to know what the person is going through. So empathy is not there. Compassion is not there. It's just for you to just say, oh, this person has done this, I'll just judge the person, without trying to understand why the person is actually doing what he or she is doing. Why is the person behaving the way he or she is behaving? Some of them is programming. The way they have the environment they grew up in, it has shaped their personality, so it has become programming. Now you are meeting the person, you think the person will just change all of a sudden because he's just meeting you who is a Superman. No, and that is why you see a lot of people who have conflict in marriage, because somebody is trying to change the other person. You get, and trying to change the other person without listening to the person, understanding the person's pain, it becomes a big issue. You understand? So there are so many factors that are stifling people's capacity to be able to listen, and that's why it's difficult for them to do, especially the men. Because for women, they are very much compassionate because of the way they are built. It's not like men are not compassionate, you get, but it's the environment. You get, it's not like it's their trait, it's the environment that have shaped them to become the way they are. So for a woman, it's easy for the person to be able to want to listen to you, because they also understand the pain you're going through. For instance, this something happened right now, something terrible. A woman will react differently from the way a man will react. You understand? It's not because the man cannot react the way the woman, react, but just because of the expectation. They don't expect a man to be screaming, hey, Egbami, all those people don't expect you to do that. But there's nothing wrong in itself doing it. You get, and that is a major problem. That's why people are having a lot of mental health issue, because you are putting a square peg in a round hole. Your nature in itself does not mean you should not express yourself. The moment you start going against your nature, your personality and your formation, it also becomes a problem. You malfunction.
Absolutely. Wow, I love that. So we see a lot of men, as a young professional, I'm sure you've seen a lot of young guys who take to clubs, drinking, smoking, substance abuse, even sexual acts, just to get stress. I think they call it stress. Stress relief, But for most people, it's just coping, right? It's not really addressing the problem. It's not really providing that long-term solution on something that they'll still go back during the week to face, right? So you see on Fridays, the clubs and the rest are jam-packed with TGIF, and everyone is looking forward to the weekend, and just to return on Monday and then start it all over again. And it seems like a cycle that is not broken. Fine, we cannot, there's a limit to which you can control our external factors, but as a young professional, and if you can give us examples now, please, go ahead. But as a young professional, how have you been able to manage this stress? I mean, is the labor market in Nigeria does not care that you are just new in the market, you are just learning. Okay, I just come. Nigerian market does not want to hear, okay, I just come. So how have you been able to manage stress in a way that is really healthy? Because I know you, that's why I can ask you this question.
You sure?
I mean, make I look at my eyes. So how have you been able to manage stress?
So personally, I think one of the issues I had with myself, the way I grew up was I grew up in a way where growing up you were mostly indoors and just a few times where you go out to play. And so I think I took that personality up growing up. So I think one of the struggles I had in the beginning is go to work, come back, just maybe watch TV just silently. Most of the time, spend a lot of my time in silence and stuff like that. And the negative thing with that is that you have a lot of pent-up emotions, right? Because you're not speaking to people. And you begin to even internalize all this and have conversations with yourself, and you get so obsessed at some point with finding solutions to certain things, and instead of that being the case, it gets aggravated, right? So I think one way I've been able to help myself is that I've learned more to converse more with people who are like minds. I do that more frequently now. Have friends who I check up on, they check up on me via calls and stuff like that. And from time to time, I, visit family and so. But one thing my personal principle, which has helped me over time, is that is the principle I picked from the good book. It's my operational principle. It said, paraphrase, godliness with content is great, contentment is great gain. So I really don't pressure myself too much. I push myself to sort of make the most out of every time, but I don't put myself under undue pressure. And before now, I used to feel under a lot of pressure when people come with demands. Oh, I need this done, help me with this, help me with that. And I took it as a job. I realized I am not a messiah at a point, because it was more like, which is the case with many men. Many men don't actually live their lives. They live a life for people. So it's like you pause your life trying to help others live their life. When I realized that was not even practical, I had to cut it down. And now the things that will bother me, the DMs that will bother me, the calls that will bother me, I just look at them and like, God is going to help this person. And I sleep well. I sleep well. And drugs and all of that, I know people who do these things. It doesn't help. It may like the ostrich approach where he buries his head and things that is entire. The truth is that you wake up and you find the same situation. A lot of people who are in those situations actually need help, and I think that's where the experts come in.
Yes, absolutely. I think this is a good time to plug in that, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, a NIM Foundation offers what we call NIM Sanctuary. Is an affordable and available therapy means whereby you're able to speak with professionals, psychologists, or therapists in-house, and they'll be able to give you premium listening ears, and they'll be able to help you with anything that regards to your mental health or your psychosocial well-being. Nice plug. Sanctuary, you people need to pay me. Mr. Bayo, so he has spoken as a young professional, and I would like you to add more in terms of being someone who has been in the game, for a long time. You're married, you're also a dad, and you're like that quintessential African man, where you're everything. You have a 9 to 5 as well as a 5 to 9. Because family is another thing entirely, and all of this you need to find balance in all of this. Have you been able to integrate positive mental health into your everyday life? And what are some of the tips that you can share for our listeners?
The first thing, being a professional is one thing. Being a dad is another. Being a husband is another. They are different roles, unique in themselves. They intersect by you. You are the intersection of these different roles. And at different points in time, you have to learn to be one and not to be another. Because at some particular time, even while with your child, you need to be a husband to your wife and ignore your child for a bit. Because when we talk about listening, attention is 100%. If you don't give someone 100% attention, they will observe and then they stop communicating. They might keep talking, but they'll stop communicating. So it's something we're going to keep learning.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of emotion involved, just this morning, I was unable to sleep till the morning because of my daughter. I had to be a dad at that point because she couldn't sleep. I had to be a dad, and I still have to be at work. I have to be a father the next morning,
professional again,
and then I have. Do you understand? So, it's wise to learn to talk. Man was not designed to bottle in. Humans were not designed, not even just men alone. Humans were not designed to bottle in. That's why you see, maybe that's why animals are very aggressive. Because they're trying to communicate and nobody seems to understand. When we learn, and yes, we also need to learn to talk to ourselves. Because you won't always find someone to talk to. Now, being a believer, a Christian, there are other solutions to that. Do you talk to God? He bears that burden for you. Man was designed to always communicate with an higher, with someone with a higher level of understanding, or someone he or she believes to have a higher level of understanding. That is what usually aids. That hierarchy aids communication.
Yeah.
When you believe this person has more wisdom than me, it's easier for you to let it all out and believe. Once you say it, they'll know what to do with what you've said.
Yeah.
Now, being a Christian, I do that to God, and that's why the Bible says, "Pray without ceasing," because you will always have something to talk about. You're in an environment where the stimuli is incredibly much.
Yeah.
There's stimuli from work, there's stimuli from friends, there's stimuli from paying rent, fueling your car. By the way, how much are you buying fuel nowadays?
Oh my goodness. When you said that fueling your car, I had
and you have to do all this. Like, nobody cares. And it's not that they don't care because they're wicked. They don't care because they have their own things to care about that they can't entirely care about. So there's no space for you in that. So sometimes, people get mad, you're trying to talk to someone, the person's not listening. You are not, if you enter that person's head, you will be like, bros, can I listen to you?
Yeah.
Do you understand? So people are not naturally selfish. In an environment where you see people satisfied, humans are friendly. You have shelter, you have food, you have... That environment usually, except in some instances that are unique, people are friendly. It's easy to give you food if I've eaten. It's easy to hand you 1K if I have enough with me. But in an environment where there's consistent pursuit of trying to get enough, there's almost no space for others. So who do you want to talk to? Which is where the place of professionals come in. Which is why we have to appreciate the place of professionals. Societies have understood this development and have therefore created, since nobody has time for nobody, let us have professionals who their 9 to 5 is to do this. So we shouldn't look down on the psychologists by looking down, like say someone who goes to a psychologist, a psycho. No, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. You have to speak to the psychologist so you don't become a psycho. Because it is the not speaking that makes you the psycho. So thank you.
Absolutely. There are gender-based expectations of men, physically, emotionally, spiritually, like you mentioned, financially, even as a society, within the construct of your family, whether your own family or the family that you belong to, but we've talked about these expectations and some of the stigma or some of the limitations that men face. I'd like TG for a brief moment to talk about some of the abuses that men also face that we will otherwise not be believed if we had shared it. So, for instance, a man getting raped, if you come out to say your deed, they'll say, enjoy it. And I'm talking from not just from experience, like things I've seen on Twitter Spaces, Facebook, on social media, right, where men are finding more difficult to express themselves and express what they've experienced, in terms of all of this. TG, there are often social expectations of men to be strong and not show vulnerability. How can we challenge these expectations and promote a healthier understanding of masculinity while also supporting men's mental health?
Okay, so I just want to get the question clear. I guess you asked two questions. And the first one is you talked about what are the expectations, but for the men, what are the things that they are supposed to do? I don't know if I got your question right.
Yeah, so the first question is there are a lot of expectations from men, right? And how can, even with these expectations for men to be strong and not show vulnerability, that is like the ideal African man that does not show odeshi, you understand, impenetrable, is unfazed, and that cannot be true, right? So the first half is, how do we understand healthy masculinity, and then what can we do to support men's mental health?
I think in itself, what I would just say is that we should just allow men to be authentic. And we also need to be able to start teaching them even from childhood, because some of these things we are talking about, the programming. For instance, I'll give you an example. As a boy, 2-year, 3-year-old, you are crying, and they make statement like, boys don't cry. That statement is already a programming in the mind of the child. So the child grew up and becomes a man and is saying, they say boys don't cry, which means also men don't cry. You understand? So I think we should just allow men to be men, allow boys to be boys. You understand? I don't always like to talk about societal expectation, because at times it places a limit on your potential. If, for instance, as a man, a society that said you should be washing car, a society that says you should be providing for the family, which is good, but if a particular family decided that both will be providing, there's nothing wrong about it. You understand? So I am always trying to avoid expectation, societal expectation. I just want you to be yourself. You understand? If you want to cry, cry. If you want to do certain things, do. If you want to go to the gym, you understand, to do exercise, do whatever things you just want to do, as long as you know that is good for you as a person, and it will also affect other people, because at times something can be good for you, but it also causing nuisance to other people within your space. But as long as you know it is good, I think it's fine. Because what I'm trying to avoid giving specific statement is when we say LD masculinity. I'm trying to avoid giving certain, being specific in terms of saying this is woman, this woman, and somebody feel that if I'm not doing this, it means I'm not a man. You understand? Yeah. I'm just trying to avoid that. But I'm just saying that whatever you think is LD, whatever you think is good for you as a man, do it. Don't be defined by societal expectation. Don't be defined by people's opinion, because it will place a limit on you. And for us as an individual, we can create that safe space for men. We need that safe space where a lot of men can begin to onboarding, because there are a lot of things going on in their mind right now. You understand that they are finding it difficult to talk to people. They go to pubs, they talk. And when they go there, they talk, because they see that as a safe space. But like you said, it's just a form of coping. Yeah. And let me say this again, that some people go to those places, take drugs, do all of those things because of certain trauma that they are dealing with. This is how it works. People gravitate towards pleasure, but they move away from pain. So anything, once they take that drug, there's that excitement the drug gives to them. When they take the alcohol, there's that kind of excitement it gives to them. It makes you feel differently in a different world. You that you are a beggar in this world, once you take the alcohol, it makes you feel like a king somewhere else. That's why you see people make certain statements when they are under or when they are intoxicated, because it gives them that sense of pleasure, that sense of love that they are not getting from somewhere. So once they get that understanding that this thing can give me some level of love, pleasure, excitement, they get hooked to it. Whenever they are stressed at home, they go for it because they move away from pain, go to something that they are excited, and that's where addiction starts from. In the process, people begin to get addicted to it. So for some people, that's how it is. It's because of the pain that they get hooked to certain vices that give them some form of pleasure. But we must learn to let men be men. Just don't label people. I think it's another thing that will help us to allow them to break free from all these, stereotypes and all of that. Don't label people. Let them have certain expectations. Let's allow them to be themselves. You understand? And once we are able to create that environment where men can even become vulnerable, you understand? You will see how we will live as human beings. Because right now, we are not living as people are just living the life that they are not meant to live. They are not happy. They are not excited about the kind of life that they are living. So much pressure. Even some people do jobs that they are not excited about doing, but because they have to pay the bills. So many things around. Let's just allow people to be who they are. We will see how this world will be so interesting for each and every one of us to live in.
Absolutely. I love how Thank God always breaks it down. And I think most of this problem starts with this question that you can't imagine how much I dislike this question. When a woman gives birth and they say, "Waiting is she born?"
You understand?
Waiting she born. Why does it matter? She gave birth to a child. Why should it matter? Why should the he's a girl, hey, he's a boy, and but ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening in thus far. We've been speaking with Mr. Thank God Ocheho, Mr. Benga Ogudari, and Mr. Bayo Malomo. As we round off on this topic called Man Up, what does it really mean? For men out there who are listening, who are perhaps in one stage or another of some of these challenges that we've talked about, whether they are maybe they are listening at the beer parlor right now, or they are listening while they are high, or they are listening while they are undergoing stress, or they are listening and they know somewhere deep down that they need to talk to someone, they need to reach out to someone. What's your last words for them? I'll start with Benga.
So, I'd like to close by saying that it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you're not okay, don't be scared to speak up. I also encourage that it's understandable to be scared to express, considering the fact that, the right information in the wrong ears may aggravate the issues of solving it. So being able to identify who to speak to, and the good news is we have professionals who can handle this, and they are not as expensive as people think. And I think they also operate with certain ethics that bars them from divulging sensitive information to other people. So speak up. That's my last word.
Yeah.
I don't think I could give a more accurate closing than he has done. That's it.
Mhm.
Find your space.
Yeah.
Find your space. If
And
you're
do you know
in
that is
space-
really true? Because there are so many men who they're just in a place where that works, not a place they want to be. So they're just in the office, they're in the job that pays, they're in the relationship that maybe there's some benefit to it.
Convenient.
Mhm.
Yeah, but not where they really want to be. I really like that. Find your space.
Yeah. Like I said, find your space. Now, the difficult thing about finding your space is you need to know who you are to find your space. You need to
Mm.
discover who you are before you find your space. Before you discover yourself, you might think A is good for you until you experience A, and then you realize, oh, A doesn't work for me.
Mm.
And then you do B. That's naturally how it goes. There are other ways to find yourself. But that discovering yourself precedes finding your space. Because if you don't discover yourself, you don't even know who you're supposed to be with.
Mhm.
So you can't even identify your space.
Mhm.
But once you find yourself, it's easy for you to know, okay, this is the kind of person I can be at peace with. This is the kind of person. I know the interesting thing about finding your space is that even when you're in your space, if you're hurt within that space, it's easy for you to accommodate the hurt
Yeah.
because it's your space.
Mm.
It's unlike if you're in a space where you know you're not received, you always interpret, even when they're trying to express love to you, you might even interpret it as
Mhm.
being attacked. But when you're in your space and you understand you're in your space, even when they're doing bad to you, you will not even interpret it as bad
Mm.
because you've discovered it's your space. And it's your space because it is for you. The benefits is towards you. Now, how it benefits them is that you've discovered yourself.
Yeah.
That's why discovering yourself has to precede finding your space. How it benefits who you're in that space with is that you've discovered yourself. Because by discovering yourself, they are able to understand that this is who this person is, and they can also choose to be with you or not.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So the benefit now becomes mutual.
Yeah.
So yeah, find your space.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Bayo. TG.
Okay. In conclusion, I'd just like to say to yourself, be true. That was always my philosophy, to thyself, be true. And it's therapeutic when you are true to yourself. It's therapeutic when you're authentic, when you are real, when you don't have to fake it to make it. You understand? So it's very important. Just to add up the word of Benga and Bayo, speak up within your space. So learn to speak up within your space. However, if you don't have a space to speak up, we have Name Sanctuary at Name Foundation. It's a wonderful space for you. You can come around, whatever you are dealing with, just come around. We provide that safe space, confidential, non-judgmental space where you can be able to talk to someone and you experience healing in the process. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you to our guests for joining us today and sharing your valuable insights on men's mental health. It's crucial that we continue to these conversations and work towards a more compassionate and supportive society for everyone. If you found this episode really helpful, please share it with your friends, with your family. Remember to take care of your mental health, as it's a sign of strength, and seek support whenever you feel a little weak or you feel the need to find support. We'll be back next time with another insightful episode. Until then, please stay well and prioritize your mental health and your mental well-being. Bye for now.